Hi, thank you for joining me. I'm Trace Williams. This is What Do You Think? Today, QAnon, one man's perspective, the right to protest. It was announced in science class that on Monday, the study of the anatomy of a frog was to begin and culminate with the dissection of a frog on the following Friday. Most of the classmates were excited to learn about the innards of a frog. Some, however, were not. An argument had broken out in class and things had begun to get out of control. The teacher calmed the class and informed them that the discussion was welcomed, but it must be a civil discussion so that everyone's point of view can be heard. No chaos in that classroom was tolerated. Both arguments for and against the dissection were presented, and an open discussion was then permitted to take place. For the most part, the conversation was subdued and points on both sides were adequately established. The children of the class were informed that the teacher would take time over the weekend to revisit the decision of the dissection. He would let them know on Monday whether they would participate in the activity or not. As Monday arrives, the instructor informs the students of his thought process in the making of his decision. He had carefully weighed the arguments of both sides and decided that it was far more beneficial to do the dissection than not. The students that wished to do the autopsy were excited. Those who did not, well, they were appalled. The cheers rose up from one side while the boos rang out from the other. As the days went by and Friday arrives, a protest begins. The students who wished not to participate in the dissection had come to class early and sat in the doorway of the classroom in protest of the activity. When the other students had arrived for class to find their way to the project inhibited, they were not happy. Those students sat on the other side of the hallway and began to protest the protesters. Chants from both sides of the hallway rang out. Each side began to get louder in order to be heard over the other. The instructor had seen the values of letting this protest occur. He would use this as a teaching point, but then it happened. One of the students called another a derogatory name and a physical confrontation broke out between the two. The fight was immediately broken up, yet the protest was allowed to continue. However, the participants of the physical confrontation were sent to the principal's office for disciplinary action. The peaceful protest was then broken up by the teacher and the students returned to the classroom. The instructor used the remaining time to educate the students on the right to protest and how each side was doing a fine job until the rule was broken by a member of each party. At that point, disciplinary action must take place. Once violence had begun, the protest was no longer peaceful. This is a basic concept going back to grade school years. Why do we, as adults, find it hard to understand that when the law is broken, the perpetrators must be removed from the gathering and disciplined? This example is pretty simple. This protest was in no way designed to be violent. What happens when it is designed to be violent? What if the ones committing the violent acts were paid to do so? Who then becomes responsible for the actions? Those who perpetrated the crimes did so with intent. Does that not then become premeditated? There is more than one getting paid to act out this criminal behavior. Does that not then become conspiracy? The person or persons behind the money, are they not the conspirators? If these questions prove to be true, then are the perpetrators not co-conspirators? Peaceful protests are one thing. The conspiracy to incite violence, to incite a riot, to commit an act of property damage, to commit an act of bodily harm, and an act of murder in the previously mentioned crimes is another. Should these crimes go unpunished? Does it matter what the protest is about? At one point it did. However, that point has been diminished by the criminal activity that has ensued after the fact. Should they all not be held responsible for their actions? Is that not basic rule of law? I don't know, folks. I'm Trace Williams, just asking the question. What do you think? Thank you for joining me. God bless, and have a great day, everybody.